I worked it up today. I called in sick today at work and worked up this episode. The kids had stuff from school, and I woke up with kind of like a brain fog and runny nose and everything. And Mike likes to cancel the show when that happens, but the show must go on in Nate's world. So we're here. We're doing this. I'm not saying one of us is more of a man than the other, but...
Welcome to Nice Ashes. Join hosts Mike and Nate for cigars and culture. Let's go beyond the smoke.
What are we smoking this time, Mike? Please let it be something good.
We are smoking the Quorum Classic.
Fuck.
Another Robusto. It's going to be delicious. Smells terrible. The cap tasted awful.
The end cap is the worst. It's, oh my God. We do this for fun, everyone. This is our fun time hobby. And I don't know why we subject ourselves to this, but I remember watching Fear Factor growing up, and I always hated the eating portions where they ate like the grossest stuff ever. And I feel like we're just kind of fear factoring ourselves, except with, I guess I'll say this, though, about the Quorum. This is the Quorum Classic, and the other one was the Quorum Shade. They do actually print different labels for these two, unlike the levels where they were just like, hey, we got one label design, slap that on everything. So I'll give them kudos for that.
3 puffs in. Initially, I thought it was going to be better, and it is a little bit better. It is a little bit better. It is
slightly better, but it's slightly better in the sense that is this one a Maduro? It's a darker wrapper for sure. It might not be a full-blown Maduro, but it's something that's a little darker, so it's a little mellower in terms of the acidity. But I feel like the acidity is still there because the end cap is so acidic and gross. But we'll see as we progress.
The the acid in my nose is still there. So that battery acid acetone mix of the other one is just masked a little bit by a darker tobacco front flavor.
Yeah.
So it's got the front of a pleasant cigar, but then the end of it is battery acid.
the backing of a powerful and fresh battery acid.
Yes, it is.
Oh my
something
God.
Else. Something else.
Well, speaking about something else, Mike, I'm quite excited about this episode topic. This has been on my list. I keep a little list of episode topics that I want to talk about. And I get to check off one of the very first ones I put on the list. And I worked it up today. I called in sick today at work and worked up this episode. The kids had stuff from school, and I woke up with kind of like a brain fog and runny nose and everything. And Mike likes to cancel the show when that happens, but the show must go on in Nate's world. So we're here. We're doing this. I'm not saying one of us is more of a man than the other, but, my time is near, and I'm choosing to spend it with everyone here listening. Love you, Keith.
There we go. Now
I love
you know
those memes where, when a man has a cold, they're like, "Gather near, my children. My time is soon."
I don't get a lot of those across my meme page. My meme page is you and Jordan.
I know, and I find those sexist and demeaning, so I don't send them to you.
I don't think I'd forward that to Jordan. I only forward the good ones.
Yeah, but there's one, and I don't know if I sent it to you or not, but. A man is on the phone. He's like, "Oh, hey, babe, what are you doing?" And his wife is like, just girl stuff. He's like, "Oh, you crashed the car again?"
Oh, my God. That's terrible.
But that's not sexist and demeaning. But, men with a cold, that's sexist and demeaning. So it's kind of hit or miss, with these things. But hopefully everyone can hear the sarcasm in my voice. I think the men with cold things is hilarious as well.
So what are we going to talk about, Nate? What are we going to talk about?
Well, in here you thought all this cold talk was a distraction, but really it was foreplay, Mike, and you get impatient with foreplay. So let's dive in. We're going to talk about Leechbooks. Have you heard of a Leechbook, Mike?
I don't even have a good visualization of what that word combination means, Nate. So why don't you explain what it is?
Well, I thought you would, Mr. Big Fisher Man. No, this has nothing to do with fishing. And it actually has nothing to do with leeches. A leech book is a collection of medical recipes and knowledge. And one of the most prominent examples is Bald's Leech Book, which is an Old English medical text from the 10th century that provides Anglo-Saxon medical remedies, cures, and diagnoses. Diagnoses? Something like that.
Something like that.
Yes. So it's basically the Old English compendium of medical knowledge at the time. And we're going to go through some of the, a little bit of the etymology so we understand why it's called a leech book. We're going to talk about the, 4 or 5 biggest, most well-known ones. We're going to go through some of the actual remedies. And then there's a pretty interesting bit where recently one of the remedies was tried and what that result was.
Interesting.
Yeah. So leech is Middle English, which is spelled Leche, and it means doctor or physician. And book means book, of course, but it's B-O-C. So it was like it would look like you were writing like Leche Bach in Middle English or Old English. So it's medical doctor's book is basically what it comes down to. And these are of the Anglo-Saxon era, and it's a compilation of medicinal cures and remedies used by leeches, which would be the doctors of the era. So the most famous one is Bald's Leech Book, and that's B-A-L-D. And it's an Old English medical text split across 2 volumes. And they believe it was compiled mid-10th century. And it was one of the most comprehensive Old English medical books, demonstrating an effort to combine ancient medical theory with local practice. And we'll talk a little bit more about that coming up. But we've got some other leech books we'll mention briefly, and we're going to mostly focus on the Bald's Leech Book because that's the most well-known. They've got a preserved copy, I think, somewhere in England, so you can actually go look at it. I got to remember to take a few puffs off of this fabulous cigar here.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I got to get caught up. I've heard of the Bald's Leech Book, I think. But only, like, as a side note to, like, different stories.
Sure.
Now that you say it, it's ringing a bell in my mind where I'm like, I think I've heard that as like some like throwaway line in a story.
It's definitely one of those references that you hear like in passing or a fleeting comment about. And I can't remember exactly where I heard of it, but I wrote it down because I thought, wow, that's fascinating. It's old medical stuff. So, and I guess I was always. I don't know if entranced is the right word. Maybe horrified is, but of the Civil War era medical practices.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And of course, this is even older. So,
right. I've always been interested in like the debate about bacteria and whether or not they exist. And there were surgeons of the day who they had these like surgery theaters that people would watch surgeries live in. And there were doctors who would make a show of making their hands dirty on purpose and then doing surgery.
Yeah, the RFK Juniors of the medical world.
Yeah, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, but I've seen those. And even with the 1910 flu epidemic, that was kind of when germs and things and bacteria and stuff like finally kind of solidified in the medical field. So it hasn't been that long across humanity that we've kind of all agreed that there are germs and bacteria and viruses and things that make people sick.
Right. Like a hyper-educated doctor 150 years ago would probably deny germ theory. Yeah. There's good odds.
Yeah, and he would have good stats, but his stats would be like, 15 to 20% of my patients survive for 2 years.
Right, yeah. He'd be like cutting-edge medicine for his era. Like, that just wasn't in the zeitgeist.
Yeah,
so.
We've come a long way is the point, but we'll show you how far we've come with some of these things here. So there's also another Leech book. It's a Leech book collection of medical recipes of the 15th century. This is, however, it's a 1934 publication by Warren R. Dawson, which compiles a bunch of different medical recipes, which I guess they would, treatments is what we would call them today, probably. And so this manuscript it's in the National Library of Medicine and contains medical information on bloodletting, materia medica, and alchemy. So even though it was kind of compiled and published in 1934, Warren Dawson found a bunch of old manuscripts and stuff and put it together. That one is considered one of the earliest medical textbooks in the English language. So a lot of these others have been translated from, I guess, Old English, right?
They're talking about Old English, Middle English, or like French and Italian and Latin?
Old, Middle English. It's all Anglo-Saxon stuff. So it could be, I think there's some Latin, possibly. I don't know. Back then it was different. It was weird. Weird time for sure. But so this Leech book collection of medical recipes that includes remedies based on ancient Greek and Roman traditions and treatments specific to Anglo-Saxon culture. So a lot of people like these books because it shows these books tried to keep the locales, their specific treatments with their specific plants and herbs, things of that nature. They tried to keep those complete and in there instead of kind of lumping everything together or discarding stuff they didn't understand. So it's kind of a pretty good thing. There's another one called the Medieval English Leech Book, which is, again, it's a 15th century manuscript. And there's something called Leechbook 3, and it was found in the same manuscript as Bald's Leech Book, but it's thought to be an independent compilation. So if you research Bald's Leech Book, Bald's is in 2 volumes, but there's a Leechbook 3, and some of the sites that you will look at will say that it's a 3-set book, but the consensus is that Leechbook 3 is independent of Bald's Leech Book. So I don't know where it came from necessarily, but it contains a separate collection of remedies, many of which are charms and invocations aimed at warding off supernatural ailments such as elf shot or diseases thought to be caused by supernatural beings. So Leechbook 3 is a valuable source for understanding the folkloric and magical aspects of Anglo-Saxon healing. So if you want essential oils, Leechbook 3 is where it's at.
I'm assuming we're going to get into whether or not any of these cures actually work at some point.
Oh, yeah, Mike. We're going to go through some of the cures, and I teased at the top. They just tested one within the last 10 years, and it might astound you. But first, a message from our sponsors. Just kidding. The next Leech book is the Lachnunga. It's a miscellany of Anglo-Saxon medical texts, charms, and prayers, and it was compiled in the late 10th or early 11th century. The title, which means remedies in Old English, was added by a 19th century editor. It's not very well organized, and that's one of the things that Bald's did really well. It's very well organized, but the Lachnunga contains a mix of herbal cures, incantations, and prayers. It was primarily written in Old English and Latin, with some passages in Old Irish and other languages. It contains unique charms, including the 9 herbs charm, and a protective prayer known as the Lorica of Leydsson. And it provides a rich and detailed picture of Anglo-Saxon popular belief in healing, encompassing both practical remedies and magical rituals. And the last one is the Old English Herbarium. So the Old English translation, and this is a 4th century, Latin Herbarium Apuleia, I don't speak Latin, Platonaceae. It was copied in numerous manuscripts throughout the Anglo-Saxon period. It's a botanical guide that details the medicinal properties of various plants. The Old English versions often include illustrations and annotations that identify the plants with local names. It was a highly influential text serving as the primary reference for herbal medicine in Anglo-Saxon England and demonstrating the transmission of classical knowledge into the vernacular language. So it's kind of like the field guide to plants and things in North America or England.
Sure. Some of this stuff seems borderline scientific.
Well, it was scientific for the time, for sure. Most of which is probably, like the charms and the magical incantations and things like that. Probably haven't held up. I don't know. I don't want to poo-poo anybody that believes that. But
well, if the incantation was going along with like a herbal remedy, it might work.
Sure. Well, and the placebo effect, who knows?
Yeah.
If you believe that an incantation is going to work, it might.
If you gave them a paste that was genuinely antibiotic, and then you did an incantation and put the paste on, it would help it heal, for sure. Especially if you told them to put the paste on again tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, if you went back in time and gave them this fucking quorum and told them it would cure everything, they'd be like, it tastes bad enough to be true. It's got to be working.
They used to do smoke remedies for things that seemed pretty ridiculous to modern people. But
still do smudging ceremonies, so I don't know that smoke remedies are that far-fetched.
Right. Got to try it at least once.
So we're going to focus mostly on the Bald's Leech Book, which is a 9th century Old English manuscript, and it blends native remedies with early European medical knowledge. It was most likely compiled during the time of Alfred the Great's educational reforms, and the Leech Book was largely believed, or I don't know, there's been a little bit of, there was some disagreement online, but the majority seemed to agree that it was written by a scribe named Sild, C-I-L-D, at the request of someone named Bald, which is where it gets its name. It's divided into 2 parts. One part is focused on external ailments, and the other on internal diseases. which is a rare structure for medieval medicine texts to take. But again, I mentioned that this one was the most well compiled and organized of all of the Leech books. Both of the books, and this is amazing. I don't know. I found it amazing. I thought this was pretty cool. They're compiled in head to foot order. So you've got the external ailment book that starts at the top of the body and works its way down. And you've got the internal book, which starts at the top of the head and works its way down.
That is kind of genius in its own way.
Isn't it? I mean, it's with what we understand of the body, I don't know. And I'm not a doctor, so I might just be blowing smoke, but we talk a lot about systems like nervous system, muscular system, skeletal system. And I don't know, if you're in fucking medieval times and you're like, my hip hurts, and you have Bald's Leech book, well, go to like, what, 3/4 of the way through the book, and there's the hips.
I guess. I don't know if the index existed yet.
No, but if you know it was compiled head to foot.
Right.
Like,
no, yeah.
how far down is the hip?
Quick,
it's about 3/4 of the way. Yeah.
Yep. No, that's true. Yeah, you could flip right to it.
Yeah. And here's something else that might blow your mind, Mike. Bald's Leech book includes what many people believe to be the absolute very first mention of plastic surgery in English records. With a procedure for repairing a cleft lip.
Interesting. Is the procedure actually effective? I suppose it would be if it's surgery.
Well, it was effective for the time, for sure. I don't know that people are still using that procedure.
Probably not word for word.
So it drew from Mediterranean sources. Bald's Leech book was also adapted to the English landscape, removing hard-to-find exotic ingredients and incorporating local Irish remedies. So, again, this was the 9th century, so you didn't really have access to everything in the Mediterranean that you would in fucking Northern Ireland.
Right, like that's a really good feature if you're in a remote location, for sure.
Yeah. Though Anglo-Saxon healers sometimes use charms and references to supernatural causes like elf darts or worms, the bulk of their practice was grounded in effective plant-based medicine and practical treatments, which is on par with the Native Americans in America. I guess, yeah, Native Americans in America. Where else would they be? The Native Americans from Chile. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, Hollywood makes it sound all woo-woo and stories and, literature, but the reality was that these people were practicing herbal medicine.
Yeah, which can be very, very effective. A lot of our modern drugs are based off of those plant-based medicines. We've just found ways to synthesize it or make it more potent or whatever, right? Like it was a starting point for sure. All right, so compared to other early English texts, Bald's Leech book stands out for its conscious efforts to blend native knowledge with the best of continental medical traditions, offering a fascinating glimpse into how early English medicine evolved in dialogue with the wider world. It's a compilation of the best medical knowledge stretching back to the Roman and Greek empires and ultimately back to the celebrated Roman physician Galen. Galen? I don't know. Mike would know.
Galen.
Didn't you play darts with him?
I think we were on a league together.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So Bald's Leech book gives us an important clue that the medical knowledge of the Greeks and Romans was not lost in Dark Ages Britain. For references in Bede's histories, we see that both laymen and clerics were named physicians. And from looking at the remedies prescribed in the Leech book and from other sources, we can see that a wide variety of cures and treatments for various maladies and injuries were available to the Anglo-Saxon physicians of the time. Most of these were the plant-based herbal remedies, made up of both locally available plants and even some exotic ingredients such as cinnamon, pepper, or ginger that would have been obtained from the Far East through Arabic traders into the continent, finally reaching Britain. Some of these ingredients were helpful, some were neutral, and some were harmful. Kind of the physician's Russian roulette there. Others containing ingredients such as garlic, onion, oxgall, and copper salts are very useful against bacterial infection.
Makes sense.
Yes. So on to the cures, Mike. How far are you in your cigar?
I'm about halfway.
I'm about halfway.
I don't like it. It's better than the last one. There for a little bit, I wasn't getting... Yeah, I wasn't getting like the crazy acid and acetone. I was just getting that like bland cigar leaf forward. But now that I'm getting past the halfway, I'm starting to get acid and acetone yet again.
I believe that the best parts of these quorums are the midpoint.
So
for some
far,
reason.
It's been true.
Yeah.
At least for us.
So we're going to talk about some cures. If you've got a nasty taste in your mouth, put the quorum down. Damn, Bald, spot on.
Quorums suck. Fuck you by quorum.
All right, so cures.
Yes.
I'm going to go through some of these, and then I've got a whole list. I've got a list of like 20-some cures, actually from the Leech book. But one of the cures was for a headache. It was to bind the stalk of crosswort to the head of a red kerchief. Chilblains was treated with a mix of eggs, wine, and fennelwort. Agrimony was cited as the cure for male impotence. When boiled in milk, it could excite a man who is insufficiently virile. When boiled in Welsh beer, it would have the opposite effect. I mean, they're just trying everything, I think. Like, boiled and drink the beer. The remedy for shingles comprised a potion using the bark of 15 trees. 15 trees being aspen, apple, maple, elder, willow, sallow, myrtle, wych elm, oak. Oak. Sorry, everybody. Oak. Blackthorn, birch, olive, dogwood, ash, and quickbeam. Just rewind, and you can get all those woods, so you can cure shingles. And I've had shingles, and it's not fun. A remedy for aching feet called for the leaves of elder, waybrod, and mugwort to be pounded together, applied to the feet, then the feet bound. In another, after offering a ritualistic cure for a horse in pain, required the words, "Bless all the works of the Lord of Lords," to be inscribed on the handle of a dagger. The author adds that the pain may have been caused by an elf. So you can see that it kind of runs the gamut. We're running the gamut here from chants and incantations, and also maybe getting some benefit of local plants.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, if you're binding the feet with a bunch of barks all ground up, there's probably is a medicinal elements in those barks.
Yeah, but do you need all 15 of them?
Probably not. But I'm guessing that 10 of them work.
Yeah, if even 5 of them work, but they didn't have the time or know how to figure out which 5, like,
right? Yeah, they're not reducing. Reducing. There's probably some woman somewhere who was doing this that was later burned as a witch who could narrow it down to 5.
Yes.
So she was more effective in treating people, therefore a witch.
But how do we know she's a witch?
Because she effectively treats us in medicine when we're sick. Kill her now.
Yep. Witches burn. What else burns? Wood. Wood floats. What else floats? Tiny pebbles. A duck. Anyway, go watch Holy Grail. All right, headache. The cure for headache was to crush together some beetroot and honey, smear the juice all over the patient's head, then have them lie on their back in the sun and let the juice run down their face. If the headache only affected one half of the head, it was best to smear a mixture of laurel oil and vinegar all over their cheeks. And I'm assuming they're talking about the cheeks on the face.
I don't know how that could be effective other than getting in the sun and getting vitamin D.
Well, it says lay on your back. So you have a headache, lay down. Beetroot and honey probably has a pleasant odor to it.
Sure.
But does it have any medicinal value? I don't know.
Maybe beetroot has small amounts of aspirin in it or something.
Doesn't that cause autism? Or is that Tylenol? I can't remember now.
I think, yes. The answer's yes.
Hey, if it starts with an A, it causes autism. You know why? Because autism also starts with A. Okay, a head wound. For a head wound, you smash up some betony leaves and smear them on the injury, and then you're supposed to take cress and just kind of shove it up your nose. Sounds fun?
I don't know about that.
I don't know either. I think that might be something that I would just drink a lot of Welsh beer for, but again, I'm not a leech. Cataracts. They would smear raw hare's gall, which is liver secretions, on your face. Another cure would be mixing the ash of burnt periwinkles with bumblebee honey and rubbing it directly into your eyes.
Interesting.
If you couldn't find any fucking periwinkles to burn, you could substitute fatty parts of all river fishes melted in the sun as a substitute. So I guess I'd be walking to find the fucking periwinkles because all river fishes. What if I miss one?
I think it's any. Should be any river fishes. Also, I don't want rancid fish fat anywhere near me. In my eye.
In your eyes?
Not in my eye. not anywhere.
You don't want rancid fish fat in a box with a fox? Would you try it in the rain? Would you try it on a train? I don't like rancid fish fat, Sam. I don't like it at all. All right, swollen eyes.
The Quorum cigar is a fine cigar for you to try.
I've heard if you have cataracts, you could just take a Quorum cigar and smoosh it into your eyeball.
It smells of rancid, fatty fish.
You will be blind, but the cataracts will no longer bother you. All right, swollen eyes. This one's fun. This is a fun one. These are all kind of like side quests, like a Dungeon and Dragons side quest. Swollen eyes. Catch a live crab. Okay, your eyes are swollen. Your quest is catch a live crab. Cut off its eyes. Put them against the neck of the patient, but only after returning the blinded crab to the water. So you have swollen eyes. Cut the eyes off of a live crab. Put the live crab, now blinded, back in the water. After it's in the water, put the severed crab eyes on your neck.
So take a day off and go to the beach.
Yeah.
That's what the doctor said.
Yeah. An earache. Garlic, onion, and goose fat. If you melt it together and squeeze it directly into your ear, you're going to boil your motherfucking eardrum. But apparently they thought it was the perfect cure for an earache. The other remedy they had for an earache, because people nowadays still do candling, and I've heard it's very dangerous to have like hot wax dripping near your eardrum. But again, I'm not a doctor. But if you don't want the garlic, onion, and goose fat, you can do crushed ant eggs or the mushed up gall of a buck or of a bull, a buck, and a boar. So you have to have the mushed up gall of a bull, buck, and boar into the ear canal. So you're putting gross things into your ear, and that will cure your earache, because I guess the maggots will just eat you from the inside out after that.
Oh, well, garlic and onion have antimicrobial properties.
They do.
So maybe if it wasn't boiling hot and you had an infection, it would help your body fight it. Maybe.
Possibly.
If you didn't, burst your eardrum with boiling hot goose fat first.
Yeah. I mean, it's the fucking 9th century, so if your earache is that bad, you're probably willing to try it, I guess, in the 9th century. My guess is the earache is not what we would consider an earache today. It would probably be something pretty drastic.
Yeah, I'm going to guess this earache is probably like a ear infection or something.
Yeah, impacted wax or who knows what. All right, a nosebleed. If blood run from a man's nose too much, poke into the ear a whole ear of barley, so he be unaware of it. So this is like the classic, oh, my knee hurts, and you punch someone as hard as you can on the shoulder. And then they say, oh, what'd you do that for? You're like, oh, I bet that took your mind off the knee.
That does sound like that.
All right, neck pain. Remedy for sore throats, swellings, quinsy, tonsillitis, and other types of neck sickness is to take a white thost, dry it out, crush it up, mix it with honey if necessary, and rub it on the patient's neck. A white thost is another word for album gracium, which is a white lump of dog excrement. However, the dog who pooped must gnaw a bone ere he droppeth the thost. Otherwise, the remedy won't be effective.
I don't even know what that means.
I think he's got to be chewing on a bone when he fucking drops his dookie, dude. And then
so you have to set this dog up for a poop with a bone, and then preserve the poop until it gets white and frosty, which is like months. And then,
I'm telling you, man, all of these sound like D&D side quests, like roll for initiative on convincing the dog to chew on a bone while it poops. We need a skill check here.
I don't think that one works.
Well, next time you got some neck pain, Mike, report back to us.
I'm going to put the Quorum cigar down, and I think my neck pain will go away.
All right, hiccups. Of course, this is one that we still struggle with today. They called them Mickle Hicket back in the day, what we now call hiccups, but they were called Mickle Hicket back then. And a lot of different remedies were suggested, but it all kind of depended on what started the hiccups in the first place. So a number of different causes of hiccuping were identified, including it cometh from the very chilled maw or from too much heated maw, a cold or hot stomach, from too mickle fullness or too mickle leerness, eating too much or being very hungry, evil wet or humor rending and scarifying the maw, possibly in reference to a stomach bug or burning acid indigestion. If someone is hiccuping because they've eaten too much, then a good spew apparently works. And I think you can figure out what that is. Whereas if they're hiccuping because of an indigestion that feels like it scarifeth within the maw, then get them to drink some lukewarm water and then put a feather in oil, poke him frequently in the throat with it that he may spew. So drink some warm water, and then we're going to shove this feather down your throat until you vomit. That will cure your hiccup. I would just take the hiccups, man. I don't know.
I mean, how serious are hiccups that you need to have a remedy?
I do not know. I know there was probably a time in Victorian England or something where it was probably ungentlemanly or unwomanly to be hiccuping in public, but this is 9th century, so they're just like playing around in muck, aren't they, at that time? I don't know.
I think they were getting slaughtered by Vikings is what they were doing.
Well, and writing badass fucking medical textbooks, dude.
I mean, we're still using it today.
Yes, we are, and especially this next one, shoulder pain. You ever have shoulder pain, Mike?
I got it right now.
Well, put the quorum down. Okay, I'm gonna cure your shoulder pain. It's gonna blow your mind, dude. Mingle a turd of an old swine, which be a field goal. Field goal score. Mingle a turd of old swine, which be a field goer, with old lard, and then smear it on the affected area. So get you some old lard that's rancid probably, and find some pig shit. Mix it together.
But it's gotta be an old pig. An old pig specifically. Can be any random pig shit.
No, it's got to be an old pig that lives in the field, not one that's, playing in the muck.
Yeah, not a sty pig.
You don't want
field
that.
Pig.
Field pig.
Yeah.
Very important. Very important to mix that shit with the rancid lard, not the sty pig shit.
Yeah, no. And no young pigs, because they're too...
No.
They got good shoulders. You're trying to... I don't know, trying to transfer your pain onto the pig, I guess.
Trying to do, I don't know. Well, you're supposed to rub this shit on your shoulder, not the pig's shoulder. So,
well, yeah.
Common mistake. It happens all the time, but it's supposed to be your shoulder. All right. I am happy to live with my shoulder pain. Thank you. All right, corns. They would make a salve from cream, brass filings, and old soap. Warts. Here's another fun one. Oh, God. I didn't read these before. I'm reading them now. But a mixture of dog urine and mouse blood smeared on the warts should get rid of them. My guess is you probably don't need specifically dog's urine or mouse blood. There's probably, there's ammonia in pee, right? You could probably just pee on your own wart.
Probably. I know they used to boil it down and use it as a salve, like cow urine.
Sure. Isn't that like ghee?
Fuck no. Oh my God. That is horrible. I like ghee. I have it in my house now.
Why do you think I brought it up, Mike?
Yeah, well, now I'm going to think of it next time I use it for cooking.
All right. Holy shit. This is some fun stuff. All right. Incontinence. I know all of our listeners are very, very anxious to cure this. In the case that a man cannot retain his urine, you need to burn the claws of a boar or another swine. It doesn't necessarily have to be an old field-going swine. Sprinkle the ashes into his drink, and then that would solve the problem. Otherwise, if you didn't want to do that, you could try eating a fried goat's bladder or a boiled ram's bladder, but do not fry the ram's bladder or boil the goat's bladder. It has to be fried goat bladder or boiled ram bladder. Don't confuse those two, or you're going to make it worse. For women, however, the cure wasn't quite so bad. They could just have an infusion of garden cress steeped in warm water, and that would fix them. But men has to be some weird fucking bullshit.
I mean, I'll identify as a woman for that one. I'll take one for the team, boys.
Not in the 9th century, you're not. But yes, I agree. All right, swelling. Sorry, just getting a sweet Instagram photo.
Soak in cold water or get ice on it. Is that what it's going to be?
Dude, when I said these are all D&D side quests, what part of that is soaking in water? So for swelling, there's a couple different ones. You can remove the canine tooth of a live fox, then you bind it in the skin of a fawn and hold it against the affected part. I mean, obviously, right? So simple.
I don't know why I didn't think of that first. Go to a cool stream and soak your swelling wound. That's nonsense.
Oh, absolutely not. Yeah, lie in the sun and smear honey on your face. Nope. You're going to have to do some weird shit. How do you feel about catching a fucking live fox?
Performing dental surgery on the live fox.
Yeah. Skinning a fawn. All right. Snake bite. All right. You ready for another side quest, dude?
It's not cut it open and suck it out?
No. What? That makes no sense. Mike, you have to wash a black snail, which is a slug, in holy water, and then the person who is bit by the snake drinks that. For a spider bite, it's completely different. So you need a hen's egg, and you mix that with some sheep shit in a bowl full of ale. But you can't tell the victim what it is, because if they know what it is, it won't work. Is this like April Fool's pranks from like, what the fuck? I know it smells like sheep shit because you've drank that a lot, but this is totally not sheep shit.
That's unbelievable. Nobody would fall for that. That would be impossible.
Not in 9th century, dude. But again,
that's crazy. Why would you ever think that? That's some imagination. That is some imagination. Holy smokes.
You know what? It's probably one of those things where it worked one time because maybe the person had antibodies or something to the snake venom or whatever, right? Because people do. You take their blood if they're immune to the venom and you make anti-venom with it. But maybe they just had it, the anti-venom, and they're like, oh shit, they're bit with a snake. I don't know what to try. There's some sheep shit over there. Let's just mix it all up and drink that. And they got better, but not because of this. And then they're like, we need to write this down in a book so other people can drink sheep shit.
I mean, I would never give somebody else sheep shit. How are you going to convince them that it's not sheep shit? How?
Well, you don't have to convince them that it's not. You just can't tell them what it is. So they can this kind of smells like dog shit. I don't know. Is it? It could be fox shit. I don't know. Interesting thing. Drink it, please.
Yeah, that seems pretty a sheep shit shake. I'm probably not going to drink it unless you tell me what's in it. Right?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, there's also There's a hen's egg in it, and that's only a spider bite. So,
Are there deadly spiders in England?
I don't think so. I don't know. Maybe.
So is this a remedy that has no reason to exist in that universe? That's what I'm getting at here.
Well, yeah, I understand that, but that doesn't mean they don't have a sense of humor, goddammit.
That's true.
I mean, they gave us the Ministry of Silly Walks. So, all right, burns. You're going to like this one, Mike. A salve of burnt goat excrement, wheat stalks, and butter heated over a fire and smeared onto the skin. So I know for sunburn and other burns, you never put butter on it because it retains the heat. It keeps the heat in and keeps you burning. But I guess the goat excrement probably balances it out.
Sure. So here's some background information.
All right.
Since this is a UK-based book, there are no deadly spiders in the UK, and there is one that can give a sting similar to a wasp bite. So
you know why there's no deadly
if you're
spiders?
Allergic, but they're
not.
You know
why there's no deadly spiders, Mike? Because this fucking sheep shit works, dude.
Sheep shit potion works.
It fucking works. All right. And now they've just built up their immunity to it because they drank enough sheep shit back in the 9th century. None of the spiders are deadly anymore. They're immune.
Okay. And all people everywhere on Earth are also immune.
Well, to the spiders
because
in
of their
England,
noble
of course,
sacrifice.
Right? Yes. Spiders elsewhere, no. But the English spiders, we took care of them. Yeah.
God, intimidated them.
Uh-huh. All right, next one is typhus. So you could drink an infusion of fennel and feverdew. Feverfew. You could also treat typhus by having the patient write out a prayer while saying the names of the 4 Gospels, then hold the paper against their left breast, so long as they did this outdoors, and never brought the paper inside the house.
Sounds effective. Reasonable.
Yeah. Well, at least it doesn't have anything to do with excrement.
Right.
Drunkenness. If a man has a tendency to overdrink himself, get him to take a swig of an infusion of abetany leaves before his next drink. If all else fails, he can eat 5 slices of roasted pig's lung in the evening.
Interesting.
Yeah, worth a shot, I guess, if you are prone to getting so drunk, but probably doesn't work. I don't know. I don't really know what betony leaves are, but I know there are some things that react to alcohol or drugs that make you pretty violently ill if you consume them on with that drug or whatever, right? Am I misremembering something, Mike, or is that?
No. Yeah, they have drugs now that make you ill when you consume too much alcohol.
Yep, to get you to stop drinking.
Yeah.
Baldness. This one's right up my alley. Anglo-Saxon hair restorer was made from a mixture of burned bees and willow leaves mixed with oil, which was smeared onto the head after a bath. This salve, which probably dates back to Roman times, was presumably based on the fact that willow catkins and bumblebees are themselves covered in soft, fluffy hairs. We've got demonic possession. It was rampant back in the 9th century. It labels it as fiend sick, or when the devil possesses the man and controls him from within. These were most likely psychological problems with no apparent physical cause, like epilepsy, hysteria, or schizophrenia. In any case, the treatment was the same. An infusion of various plants and herbs, including lupins, betony, fennel, and lichen, was boiled together and given to the patient to drink out of a church bell. We've got the cure for insanity. I don't know that we should I don't know that we should mention this one. I mean, it would end the prescription drug industry. To cure a lunatic, you would kill and skin a meerswine, which is a porpoise, and you make a whip out of its skin. You whip the patient with it, and soon he will be well. Amen. I mean, it can't not work.
Right.
So if you want to become a healer yourself, Mike, you might be wondering, how? How can I channel all of the knowledge we've talked about and some knowledge yet to come? It's easy. It's very easy, Mike. It's also a D&D side quest. You pick up a dung beetle and its dung ball, and you hold it in your hands, and you say aloud, Remedium facio adventris dolorum, which means I remedy for a bad stomach. Then you throw the beetle over your shoulder without looking at it, and for the next year, whenever someone has a bad stomach, you'll be able to cure it simply by laying your hands on their belly. Only 1 calendar year, though. If you're superstitious, put a water plant under your pillow at night to protect from the devil. During pregnancy, they suggest that pregnant women should avoid salty food, alcohol, and vigorous exercise, which that actually checks out. Infections, if you have an infection or swollen infected parts of the body, they want you to use copper salts, which can kill cells, but it would probably have killed off the infection before doing the patient any lasting harm. A belly wound, if you're wounded in the belly and your bowels are poking out, the physician should replace the bowels and sew the wound up with silk. And that was actually an import from China, which this one actually works because the silk dissolves as modern stitches do, meaning that you wouldn't have to remove them later. If you have an enlarged spleen from possibly malaria, you would take a very hot iron rod just out of the fire, plunge it into wine or vinegar, give the liquid to the patient to drink. The liquid that had a poker cooled in it would have been iron rich and would actually have helped with the anemia, which would have been a very common cause of an enlarged spleen. Still with me, Mike?
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right, to cure night blindness. Yeah. So someone who can't see after sunset and until sunrise, roast some buck liver, from which a liquid flows out when it's roasted. Anoint the eyes with it and give the liver itself to be eaten. Night blindness is caused by a vitamin A deficiency, and liver is very rich in vitamin A. This buck liver treatment probably would have cured most cases of night blindness an average physician would have encountered. But again, the treatment is immediately followed up by the suggestion that another good cure for night blindness is put some fucking shit in your eyeball.
Always with the shit. Why?
Hey, man, it was abundant probably back then, right? 9th century. There's probably shit everywhere.
Undoubtedly. So
why did the good Lord give me a pile of shit in my yard next to my other piles of shit? Perhaps I should use it.
I looked up betony because we're finding some of these things are repeating, and betony does have medicinal purposes.
There you go.
Apparently, it lowers blood pressure, it lowers anxiety, it can be used for a headache, and it will make you nauseous if you take too much. Okay. So I'm assuming that if you drank it in a tincture, it would make you nauseous if you drank alcohol with it.
I would imagine so.
Well,
and I mean, that's kind of the cool thing about the Leech books is some of the stuff worked. They didn't know why it worked, which is why you have, like, the liver will cure night blindness, but if that doesn't work, just put some shit on it, But some of it worked, but they didn't know that the liver was vitamin A rich.
Right, they had a vitamin A deficiency or an iron deficiency causing swelling. So, of course, the iron would come off of it and Makes sense. I don't know how they thought of that.
Well, it's probably the same thing as the cavemen eating mushrooms. Is, this one killed Jim, and that one caused Chad to see God for 3 months, and this one tastes pretty good when fried in butter. So a lot of trial and error, probably. But that was kind of part of writing things down and preserving knowledge. And people across all of time have had injuries and maladies, so it makes sense that at some point they would write them down, and some of the things would work and some of them wouldn't. But, sugar pills work an awful lot in modern society, being placebos. So
very true. I am done with my cigar, by the way.
All right. I've got one last thing. It's the thing I teased. I've got maybe an inch left. I want to talk about the modern applications. So the University of Nottingham recreated a recipe that was meant to be an eye salve for eye infections. At the time, physicians had no idea of bacteria or viruses, but found the recipe effective against eyes that were inflamed and sore. The university microbiologists recreated the recipe, which consisted of crushed garlic and onion, 25 milliliters of English wine, which they obtained from a historic vineyard near Glastonbury, and bovine salts, dissolved in distilled water. And bovine salts are basically dried bile from a cow's intestine. They thought it might have some positive effect based on the ingredients and made a large batch, which they tested on one of today's antibiotic-resistant superbugs named MRSA. This mixture that they made wiped out 90% of the MRSA bacteria, and they don't know why, because the ingredients separately would not have had any effect. So the combinations that mix together are effective, and they don't understand why. But this thing from the 9th century, Bald's Leech book, wiped out 90% of this antibiotic-resistant superbug. Yeah. So they're still working on it, and they've studied skeletons found from this era, and comparing those against some treatments in the Leech book, they found out that surgery was also attempted at this time, and in some cases very successfully. Amputations for gangrenous limbs, using silk thread to suture abdominal wounds, which we talked about, and even the plastic surgery in terms of suturing cleft palates was practiced. And they also did some brain surgery back then. So skulls of that period show evidence of trepanation. This is drilling a hole through the skull to expose the dura mater that covers the brain. This could be done after a head injury or to clean out bits of bone and blood that collect under the skull to relieve pressure and pain. If you ever drilled a hole into a fingernail to relieve throbbing pain that results from an injury to the finger where blood is collecting under the nail, it's a very similar process. And even more crazy that they even attempted some of this stuff is that patients often survived, as shown by trepanned holes in the skulls being edged with new bony growth, meaning the person lived for some time after. And it's been suggested that we can learn a lot from medieval medicine because wounds must have been ubiquitous to agrarian societies. So if you cut yourself with a scythe, there's probably a pretty good chance you get an infection. So, and we've also had leeches and maggots being returned to medicinal use in the 21st century. So some of it is very, very fucking far-fetched and a lot of shit-based remedies. But, wiping out 90% of a antibiotic-resistant strain is... that's saying something.
Right. Well, and we know that some of it worked, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
And some of it's kooky. Very kooky.
Yeah, but that's kind of the joy of researching this for me was some of this stuff was so ridiculous, but some of it, and I made the joke, like, you need the 15 tree barks. Maybe you do, because they said the ingredients alone wouldn't have cured the MRSA, but...
Right. I was not joking. Like, that's my understanding of what witches used to be, is they would take those recipes and modify them and make them better. And then that's what they did wrong, more or less, or be weird, or both.
Yeah, that too. Didn't have social skills, but could cure an eye infection.
Yep. Some old autist woman.
Yep. So I put my cigar out too. Dude, I don't know.
So this was way better. Way, way better than the last one.
Yeah. Still not good, though. I gave it a 1. I don't know.
You know what? I have to give it a 1 point. I don't even have to give it a 1 point.
You don't have to give it anything. I
don't have to give it a 1 point.
I gave the other one a 0.5. It was nasty. This one was like nasty, but not super, super nasty. It was a little bit better. It was
bearable.
So, yeah, a 1. That's still not good. It's... Not good times.
No, Raj's
Had by all.
untimely demise. I mean, it was better than that. It was better than Raj's untimely demise. Still terrible, though. Still terrible.
Still pretty bad. It's better than the Edition Special, because that was fucking nasty.
It's still a 1. It's terrible.
It's still a 1. It's not good. It's not
Neither
good.
one of these cigars are good. They were...
Don't be tempted by the $4.29 price point. They're not
No,
good.
and I purchased these in 2025. So these were purchased recently. So that is, when you're listening to it, it will cost you less than $5 when you go pick it up at a cigar lounge. And do not...
When you go not pick it up.
Yeah, when you do not pick it up, because it is awful.
Where did you hear of these? Why are we smoking these, Mike? Was it just because they were cheap on the shelf? Or
Yeah, I was in a cigar shop in a city that I don't live in.
Sure.
And I saw them, and I was buying other cigars, and I saw these, and I thought, oh, these are the other ones of the kind we already had. So I was under a mistaken impression, and I was like, oh, $4.29, that's pretty cheap. I'll buy some for show.
You didn't buy a box of them, though, did you?
No, I bought 2 of each.
Okay, well,
one
thank
for you,
God.
one for me. No more. Yeah,
That was
I
plenty.
don't,
That was plenty, Mike.
more than enough. More than enough. I usually only buy multiples of cigars that I'm fairly convinced we're gonna enjoy.
Yeah, for sure. Well, yeah, medical leech books. That was very fun for me to research and look at some of that stuff. I mean, some of it's batshit insane crazy and literal goat shit and pig shit, depending on the pig. But it was an old field-going pig. But it was interesting. I enjoyed it. It was something I wanted to look into for a while, and I was glad I was able to find the time to research it. So, maybe do your own research. I'm not a doctor, so I'm not telling you to go do any of the things we talked about. But some of the stuff does have known properties. Some of it is a little less black and white. Anyway, thanks for listening.
Be safe, have fun. Drink that sheep shit.